This is the Nightwolf howling at you, and today we're going to jump through our portal to Eternia so we can take a look at the Turtles of Grayskull Mekaneck figure, the snake hunting spy. This is, of course, part of the new wave of Reptile Wars figures for the Masters of the Universe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover line. On the back of the box, we see Mekaneck along with all four of the turtles fighting against foot soldiers, or at least the snake foot soldiers as it turns out to be. Nobody knows how truly dangerous the Snakemen are more than Mekaneck, the snake hunting specialist able to spy on King Hiss from a distance. The Reptile Wars. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles scour Eternia for Shredder, but find themselves in the middle of King Hiss's plot to make the Snakemen the most powerful force in the universe. Included in this wave was Donatello, the snake hunting tech head, Raphael, snake hunter with a short fuse, Mekaneck, snake hunting spy, and Ratlor, the mutated snake man creature. So let's go ahead and open this sucker up. So, of course, we have our parts thing showing all the different parts that come off and on of him. Well, that sounded weird. He's got two neck pieces, although these are the same neck pieces that they made in the previous Mekaneck. They did not make new ones, which is kind of a shame because this little goofy part here on the bottom just looks awkward when you stack two of them together. But at least it's all one color, so that's not as bad. We have the comic book, The Reptile Wars Part 1, Snake in the Shadows. Okay, now I actually did read this one in my Hordak video, so if you want to hear me poorly read this book, you can. Today we're just going to go ahead and go over it. So we start out seeing Mekaneck and Clampchamp here exploring near Snake Mountain looking for the mutagen and Shredder. But what they come across instead is, of course, Ratlor and a bunch of Snake Foot Clan members. Interesting though, the Snake Foot Clan members here are kind of green where they were still purple on the back of the box. But Rattler's got his mutated form, which honestly looks better in the comic than it does in the toy. We see the turtles show up to try to fight with Ratlor. And of course this is where we find out that the foot soldiers have scales. And this is also how they learn that Shredder has joined forces with King Hiss. Our buddy Mekaneck takes a nice venom bite to his neck from Ratlor. Raphael uses his weapon that somehow has a anti-mutagenic property in it, which is weird because they have this whole thing. Okay, so I think it was actually the CGI cartoon that brought up the idea of Havoc being a separate kind of magical energy in Eternia. So in this case, they fused the power of Grayskull with the Havoc ooze, which I guess is what they're calling the ooze from the Ninja Turtles, or from previously, into an anti-mutagen weapons, allowing them to demutate or reverse the effects of mutagen on people by hitting them. So it's like, hey man, here, let me punch the crap out of you to remove your mutation. Although I'm also assuming that this weapon only also works on the people with the magic-infused ooze. Otherwise, the bad guys could snag them from the turtles and, of course, demutate them. Shredder would love that. So, of course, they start going searching and they go up into Snake Mountain, and which is quite possibly the least stealthy way possible, throwing the whole ninja stealth thing out the window, where they find a snake-infused version of the Shredder ooze pit. Slime pit, I guess I should say. Well, that's an interesting thought. Because we know the Hordak had slime pit, but they keep on referring to it as ooze, so I guess Shredder ooze pit does work for this one. And then we see that the Shredder is combined by Skeletor to create whatever the hell that thing is. And that, I believe, is an upcoming figure, by the way. Deluxe one, pre-ordered at Walmart. God, I hate Walmart. And a fight ensues. King Hiss, of course, betrays the Skeletor Shredder hybrid and tosses him in the ooze pit, where he gets slimed, and then he starts coming out as something different. Actually, come to think of it, hold on. So actually, I guess I kind of missed this in my first reading, but they did, in fact, it looks like Shredder and the Shredder Skeletor hybrid is in the ooze pit with King Hiss, I'm a bit confused though as to why King Hiss is in there with Shredder. Now that I look at this, because like it's like he decided to just jump in there on his own, and that seems kind of dumb. Because who do you know? Like what personality is going to control it, right? When all three are combined, and then there's that whole thing with the ooze thing, where like traditionally with the Ninja Turtle storyline, when it comes to this style of Ninja Turtle, which would be based on the cartoon, you touched an animal, you got mutated by the animal that you touched last. Hamato Yoshi patted a rat, turned into Splinter, the rat. The turtles were last touched by Hamato Yoshi in his human form, so they developed a human form. Bebop and Rocksteady, they touched them with a rhino and a warthog, blah, blah, blah. Baxter Stockman and the Fly. But anyway, we get this weird combined form, which again is also going to be an action figure. So both King Hiss and this Mutant Shredder is going to end up being a figure. Oh. On the back of the comic, of course, we still once again see Donatello, the snake hunting tech head, Raphael, the snake hunter with a short fuse, Mekaneck, spy hunting spy, snake hunting spy, and the mutated snake man creature of rat lore. Which again, as my previous review said, I wasn't too impressed with the overall look of that. Like while the color scheme between being the darker red and the gold for the regular Rattler body looked really good, just the way they did the clear parts ended up looking pretty awful in my opinion. That brings us to our buddy here, Mekaneck, and I'm honestly kind of surprised because just looking at his legs here, I thought they were just like kind of reusing some King Hiss stuff here, but there's some rivets here that I don't remember on King Hiss, so this actually may be a lot more new sculpt than I had anticipated. And I'm going to state for the record right now, I absolutely hate this head. I think it's one of the worst head sculpts in the line. First off, it's flat, so where the hell did his nose go? I think that might be the thing that bothers me the most about that head sculpt is like, where did his nose go? His armor is huge and bulky. I mean, he's got like little wind turbines on the front there too now. We do have the standard, 2 pegs there for the shield, which his shell shield is definitely unique to him. Definitely don't need that much of a Don't need that much of a debate as to which direction it needs to go on this one though. Whatever. So I hate the head sculpt. I hate the armor design. I basically dislike this figure overall. I'm not gonna lie. I think I don't think he looks good. But as mentioned before, right? So we have the extension pieces, which again are just the same ones as our previous release, which it had blue down here and silver up here in order to match in with his body. In this case, we just have it all silver because we want to be able to double extend his neck. Which, don't get me wrong, I'm perfectly fine with that concept. I just think that now that we have this double, this thing up here twice now, it just looks kind of bad. If they'd done a way to more merge the sculpts, I think that would have been fine. But they didn't. And, you can see his clavicle here. He also does not, I would say he does not have the same range of motion in his neck because, again, this wasn't designed to give a lot of give here. So he does not have the same kind of range of motion the Rattler had with his uniquely sculpted one. You still have his basic head sculpt work at the top with the ball joint, so you can spin it all around like usual. A little up and down look here. But the top doesn't have a hinge either like Rattler did. So to me, while I do like the idea of setting up a double neck joint or multiple neck pieces, they failed here because they should have done a unique sculpt for it that would have allowed us to actually move and bend it around. Oh, for crying out loud. His armor also just slips off and is held on just by basically friction and being tight. So he does have a standard body underneath. he has these additional shoulder pauldrons. This actually might be more of the King Hiss type arm here. But other than that, I do think, like I said, I think the leg sculpts are new, but these might be reused here. Again, I'm not too fond of the way they do this. I guess in this case, so you kind of get away with it because it could look like gloves. But I think it still looks kind of weird that there's nothing on the arm to kind of merge that into the arm more. It's just kind of sitting there at the top. But see, like, when you put this on here like this is supposed to, like, more represent, like, the clavicle area here. And yeah, not really a big fan of this design. To be fair, this is the first figure in the line that I actually considered not getting. And I just think they should have done better on this. Like, it looks terrible. Like, it probably could have been a cool head sculpt if they designed it a little bit differently. Because, again, where the F is his nose at? Did they cut his nose off just to put the mask on? Alright, Mekaneck does come with his traditional weapon from Origins. Was never really sure what exactly this is supposed... I mean, it's a mace, but why does it have the hole in it? But let's go ahead and talk articulation now, shall we? So as mentioned before, he can look up, down, spin his head around on both his neck joint and the head here. Actually, although, let me do this again real quick. Because he actually has more range of motion on the ball joint here, and that's because we have this big open area so that the joint itself can move around. Trying to position this so you guys can see it better. And you don't have that at this top part, so his range of motion when his neck extension's in place does hinder it a bit. Surprisingly, his armor doesn't really get in the way. We can hinge up. We can hinge down. We can spin it. And of course, the shoulder pauldron on the armor does affect our ability to spin the arm around. And that keeps on sliding out of place again. Oh, hey, look. I didn't even realize he had this extra bit of shoulder or hand armor here. Kind of going for the man-at-arms look, I guess. Oh, this is the loosest waist I have had on any freaking figure in this line. It is really, really annoying. Okay, so we have the single joint elbow. We have the spin here at the wrist, and we have the in and out articulation that has been basically traditional with the Origins line. We can spin at the waist when it doesn't pop off. He can kick up about that far, and he can kick back about that far. Single joint in the knee. This is another one of those ones, though, where it kind of feels like if you don't do it right, you're going to break it. We do have a boot cut. And he does seem to have unique boots. I don't remember seeing those in any other figure yet. And the boot top here for the leg. Hinge at the foot, ankle, foot, whatever. We got a spin there. And these also seem to be unique feet in this line. We've already put the shield on the back once. We'll do it again. Kind of reminds me of a scarab, actually, for some reason. But what do you think? And then, of course, he can also hold his shield. To give us Mekaneck, the man without a nose. Seriously, I think this is an awful action figure. I do appreciate that they gave us a new design for the shield for him, a unique design for it, and he definitely has a lot of unique sculpting for his armor, which I'm sure will be reused somewhere else. But the overall look on this guy is just, ugh. Apparently he is the cut off your nose to spite your face type of character. Yeah, that helmet just looks terrible. I think I would rather have had them make a mutated snake version of Mekaneck than this monstrosity here. He might be the scariest character in the line thus far. But hey, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I definitely would like to hear back on this one. I don't know, maybe an improvement would have been if they had also done like silver paint over some of that just to make it stand out more. I don't know how you improve this. Well, okay, I do know how you improve it. A better f***ing head sculpt. That's how you improve it. But, you know, the armor needs a redesign too. I don't know what they were thinking. Seriously. Why? What were you on? But if you enjoyed this rant here, please feel free to subscribe and neck that like button. Thanks for watching. Peace and love.